Hi, I'm Sam here at Rick Jones Pianos with a magnificent piano, something I quite enjoyed playing, and one of my favorite piano models that we regularly get in here. This is a Kawai model KG-2D. It was built in Hamamatsu, Japan in 1984. It's their very popular 5-foot 10-inch grand piano, which they started making in, if I remember correctly, 1970. It was preceded by the old Model 500, which is very similar to this, just older. And the modern day successor is the RX2, or rather the GX2. First RX and then the GX. And I hardly find one of these models that come in here that I don't like. They're really one of my favorite pianos. It's a small enough size to be able to fit into a relatively modest living room, but it's large enough to provide you enough power, particularly in the bass, without overwhelming a small room. And I'm always very impressed by the dynamic range that I can get out of these pianos. And this one in particular, I think, is a very good example of its kind. It has a, I think, remarkably well-refined sound and a remarkably responsive touch. I'm very happy with the way this piano turned out. And perhaps notably about this piano, most of the ones we get in here of Kawai grands in general are ebony finish, usually polish, sometimes satin. This one is a mahogany finish, a red mahogany, a very dark stain of red. Quite unusual to see in Kawai Grand. Most of the Kawai Grands, as I recall, that we get in that happen to have a wood finish, they tend to be walnut, most often satin walnut. So if you've been looking for a mahogany finished piano, here's your chance. It's a really beautiful piece of furniture, and it even has its original mahogany hardtop bench that matches perfectly, comes with the piano, opens up to store sheet music, and it's in very good condition. The whole piano has been very well taken care of by its previous owner. And even more evidence of that is the fact that they had a climate control system installed. This is the Damp Juicer Piano Lifesaver system. It is it's a whole package of equipment that gets installed on the underside of a grand piano right near the soundboard, in between the various beams of the undercarriage, the wooden beams of the undercarriage of the piano. It contains a humidistat which is plugged into the wall, and the humidistat will either turn on or off a humidifier portion or a dehumidifier portion according to the relative humidity of the environment of the piano, as detected by the humidistat, and it will also keep the piano from getting too cold in the winter if it's too cold in the environment of the piano. And it really helps stabilize the soundboard in particular. The soundboard is particularly vulnerable to changes in humidity. The moisture content will change if the surrounding humidity is different. And since the soundboard is bound by the case, it can't expand outward or inward. It has to expand upward and downward. The curvature will increase, and if that is too much, the pressure of the bridges, which have pressure from the strings above them, will cause some of the fibers of the board to crack, and when it dries out later in the winter, that will open up a crack, and that is not good for the structural integrity of the piano. Of course, we always ask that you make sure whatever piano you purchase from us, whether it has a system or not, make sure you keep it in a constant humidity situation in your home. So obviously climate control your home. Having the climate control system only makes a good situation even better. It will make a less than ideal situation better than it is. And we usually find, or at least the tuners who work on our customers' pianos, they always tell us that when they go to a piano, to an appointment to tune the piano, like two identical pianos, two Kawai Grands, one of them is in a home without a climate control system in the piano, and the other one has a climate control system. The one with the climate control system is virtually always in better tune. It just keeps the piano from changing too much, and it will also stabilize the tuning, so you can enjoy the sound of your piano for longer. I can't recommend it enough. On any other piano, if you should choose a different piano, but rest assured this piano already has one. It's been installed by the previous owner quite recently. The system is a recent model, and it's a $598 value. It's something we can install in any other piano in our inventory that doesn't have one for $598, and it's highly encouraged. But this one is already included in the price, so all of this really comes together to assure us as technicians that this piano has had an easy life, that it has not been abused. It might have been enjoyed, but not abused. And it's really, I think, an excellent example of its kind. Certainly a piano I would be happy practicing on every day. About it musically in particular, I mentioned it has a large dynamic range. It's larger than you would perhaps expect for a piano of this size. It's only 5'10", it's under 6 feet. But I was able to get a remarkably big sound in addition to a very delicate soft sound out of it. And Kawai pianos, especially in the melody range, are known for having a very warm and rounded sound. It really makes, in my opinion, melodies sing very beautifully. But this is not the mellowest Kawai I've ever played. It's not the brightest one I've ever played either. I think it has a very neutral tone, purely with respect to brightness and mellowness, and so I would give it a 5 on our scale from 1 to 10. But really, you can play a lot of different music on this piano. If you have a varied repertoire, I think you'll find that everything is going to work pretty well on this piano, and the piano will work with you to make it sound good. So at least that's what I found when I was playing. The touch is a little bit on the firm side. This is normal for Kawai grand pianos especially. Um, so I would rate the touch a 6 on the scale from 1 to 10, from light to firm, 5 being right in the middle. It's a very satisfying touch. In general on Kawais, and I think on this one in particular, the slightly firmer touch of a Kawai grand, in my opinion, is due perhaps in large part to the tightness of the springs that they configure inside of the mechanism, and it allows the keys to bounce back up very quickly. That is a part of what I call the responsiveness of the piano, of the keyboard. So you can play very rapid passage work on this piano, and the keys will reset very quickly, and you might have to work a little bit harder playing the keys, but when you're playing very rapid notes, whatever repertoire you're playing, I think you'll find that this piano will be more than capable of keeping up with you. It's something, as I often say in my Kawai grand videos here in the shop, it's typical of Kawai grands. It's the way they're made, and in my opinion, it makes them very satisfying to play. I happen to think this one is a particularly smooth and responsive example of its kind. So really a lot going for this piano. But it is definitely a 6 on the scale from 1 to 10. It's not neutral, it's a little bit on the firm side. So 5 and 6 for tone and touch. The piano does also have a middle pedal sostenuto. I think every KG series Kawai I've seen has one. And if you don't know how it works, it's like a selective version of the right pedal, whereby you can hold down notes on the keyboard, and then, while still holding them down, depress the middle pedal with your left foot. None of the other dampers will be engaged, except for the ones you pre-selected, and it's like having the third hand holding down notes on the keyboard for you as you play elsewhere, with or without the right pedal. If you're a student and you've been told by a teacher to find a piano with a sostenuto, rest assured this piano has one, and it is a full mechanism affecting all dampers. So really a lot going for this piano, and I can't recommend it enough. Definitely stop by, try it out for yourself. You're welcome to play this or anything else in our inventory. But if you can't make it, you can always give us a phone call or send us an email if you have any questions. Thanks.